Okay, so I made a video for one of my finals in my other class, and I liked the format of it and like how things could just pop into my mind. So I decided for this assignment I would also make a video. So just to go kind of over the prompt, it was what is diversity, why is it important, and why is it relevant for educators? So I looked up the actual term like diversity in dictionary.com, and it told me diversity is the state of being diverse, which is just a fancy way of saying like a variety of people. For example, a variety of people could look like a classroom filled with people of different colors and backgrounds. But something that I think gets misunderstood about diversity is that it's not just about skin color. For example, according to Proof Points column by Jill Barchet, richer kids get steered more towards rigorous math classes, and poor kids get steered to more watered down math classes. This is often happening in the 8th grade when some students are tracked into algebra and some are not. So, like in my school, they kind of did the same thing, except like it wasn't really by class. I'll go over that a little bit later. But basically, like they chose some people to like move on and take like high school math, and then like people like me who weren't very math smart had to stay back and take like 8th grade math. But it goes on to say that there's fear within the United States that grows with the rising number of students in poverty and the growing achievement gap in schools between them and their wealthier peers. So I think diversity important. I think diversity is important because growing up at my school, I was from a smaller town that's not too far from here. It's like 20 minutes, but it was not diverse at all. Everybody in the school was white and like middle, upper class, as much upper class that you can be in a small town. But everybody looked like me. There was no diversity or anyone who was like different from me. We kind of all had the same story of like growing up in a small town and just things like that. And then I went to KU, and KU, I learned this in CNT 235. KU is not super diverse, but coming from a place where everybody looked like me into like a bigger, just like a bigger place where I did see like diversity for the very first time. I kind of went not into like a culture shock, but it was definitely a shock for me, just to see people who were different than me. Not that I thought it was bad. I think it was a really good thing, and I'll kind of go over that later. But yeah, it was just very different for me. And another reason that I think that is important going back to that point, because that is what the real world looks like. Like, not everybody's going to look like me. Not everybody's going to have the same background as me. Not everybody's going to be that middle class like me. And so that's all I knew growing up. And so I think it's important to understand that kids might be like me and not know about this whole other kind of world out there. But another reason that I think it is important is because, according to what do students think about school, student background characteristics relates towards that student's attitude towards school. It is a weaker relationship, but that relationship still matters. I think it is relevant for educators because, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, of the projected 50.7 million public school students entering pre-kindergarten through grade 12 in fall of 2018, white students will account for 24.1 million. The remaining 26.6 million will be composed of 7.8 million black students, 14.0 million Hispanic students, 2.6 million Asian students, 0.2 million Pacific Islander students, 0.5 million American Indian or Alaska Native students, and 1.6 million students of two or more races. And this statistic is kind of crazy to me. Almost half of that, almost half of that statistic is just white students. And like just even going over that, it just kind of like baffles me. But I think it's important for educators to be aware of because they might not get someone who is in the majority in their classroom. And it could affect how they're doing academically, but also it might not. So just to be aware of that sort of thing is very important for educators just to like have in the back of their hand in case they are struggling or if they're doing great. Like it's just like if they're doing great in their class, it's just something to have in their back pocket, you know. But also going back to why I think it is important for educators. Like I said, like coming to KU was like a culture shock for me. And like I said, like the real world does not look like me. It looks like a multitude of colors and backgrounds and cultures. And honestly, I was not prepared for that. My school did not prepare me for that. So I think it is important to prepare kids for the real world and so they don't go into like a culture shock. Thank you.